To replace the footrest actuator, the first thing we need to do is power off the chair, then unplug it. Next, we need to remove the calf massager. So we'll start by opening the zipper that secures the calf massager upholstery to the seat and removing the foam spacer. Next, we'll use a flathead screwdriver to pry off the retaining clips that secure the calf massager to the chair. Once the retaining clips are removed, we can slide the calf massager to one side to free that side from the mounting point, and then back in the other direction to free the calf massager from the chair. Next, we can disconnect the hose and then depress the locking tab on the connector to release the connector. Okay, then we can move the calf massager out of the way. Next, we'll use a Phillips head screwdriver to remove the 5 screws that secure the plastic plate that sits behind the calf massager. And we can remove the plate from the chair. Next, we need to tip the chair over onto its right-hand side. Use a wire cutter to cut the zip tie that secures the footrest actuator cable to the chair frame, and then pop the connector box cover off using your fingers. Okay, then we can locate the footrest actuator connector and disconnect it. Next, we'll use a Phillips head screwdriver to remove the 2 front screws that secure the plastic plate on the bottom of the chair. Next, we'll use our Phillips head screwdriver to remove the 8 screws that secure the lower plastic panel from the front of the chair. We need to remove this panel to access the remaining screws for the plastic plate that's on the bottom of the chair. Okay, then we can remove that plate. And now we have access to the remaining 2 screws that secure that plate on the bottom of the chair. Okay, then we can remove that 3rd plate, and then we'll have access to the actuator's front mounting point. To remove the bolt that secures the front of the actuator, we'll attach a vise grip to the bolt on the top of the mounting point, and then use a wrench to remove the nut from the bottom. Okay, then we can pull that bolt out from the top. And then we'll move that wheel and bracket assembly out of the way. We need to catch, there's a metal insert that will fall out of the actuator. So we need to take that insert out, and we're actually going to remove the white plastic washer because we'll need to use that when installing the new actuator. So there's an insert like that on both sides of the actuator. Moving to the rear mounting point, then we'll use a wrench to secure the nut on the top of the mounting point. And then we'll use a 6mm Allen wrench to remove the bolt from the bottom. Okay, and once we remove that bolt from the bottom of the rear mounting point, then the actuator is free and we can remove it from the chair. Again, keeping track of those inserts so they don't get lost into the chair. Okay, to install the new actuator then, we're going to hold those inserts in place and align the mounting point, and then install that 6mm bolt from the bottom. Once we have that partially installed by hand, then we can add the nut on the top. And then hold the nut in place with a wrench while we tighten the bolt with a 6mm Allen wrench. In the front then, we need to remove the inserts from the actuator and install the 2 white washers that were removed from the old actuator. And then replace those inserts, making sure to line them up with the groove in the actuator. Okay, and then holding those inserts in place, then we can align that with the mounting point. Okay, then we can insert our bolt from the top. And install the nut on the bottom by hand. And then use our vice grip to hold the bolt in place on the top while we tighten the nut on the bottom with a wrench. Okay, now we're ready to reconnect the connector. And then position it inside the connector box in the open slot. We need to make sure those cables are lined up with the slot so they don't get pinched in the cover. And then once that's in place, we can align that cover, the tabs on the cover with the slots on the base of it, and snap that into place. And once that cover's secure, then we just want to double check and make sure no cables are pinched. All right, now we're ready to start reinstalling these plastic covers. So the first one, see there's two tabs on that. We need to install those into the corresponding slots on the chair. Then we can replace the two screws on the bottom of the cover. Next, we can zip tie that footrest actuator cable to the chair frame in roughly the same location as it was secured previously. Then we can cut the excess zip tie. Next, we'll reinstall the two front screws that secure that plastic cover to the bottom of the chair. Okay, now we're ready to install that lower front cover. To do that, we need to align the tabs on the top of the cover with the corresponding slots on the frame. That'll ensure our screw holes are aligned, and we can replace those 8 screws to secure it. And finally, we can install the third plastic cover. Again, there are slots in that cover that need to match the tabs that are on the chair frame. And we can replace those 5 screws to secure it. Okay, now we're ready to return the chair to the upright position. Then we can move the calf massager into position so that we can reconnect the connector and reattach the hose. Make sure that hose is all the way onto the fitting. Then we need to lift the massager and slide the mounting point on one side onto the post. And then we're going to secure that with the retaining clip. Position that clip so that the tongue of the clip is facing the inside of the chair, and slide that clip into the groove. That'll secure one side of the calf massager, which will make it easier to mount the other side. As you're mounting these mounting points, you need to make sure the insert from the middle of them does not fall out. Once we have the other mounting point installed, we can replace that retaining clip to secure it. Again, with the tongue facing the inside of the chair, like so. Okay, then we can replace the foam spacer. And zip the upholstery back together. And we can plug in the chair and power it on. And we're done.